Hi, Toya. How are you?
Hi, Zahar. How are you doing today?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Good. Where are you located?
I am usually located in LA, but I'm sitting in my hotel room in New York right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
And hi, Katherine. How you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing well, Toya. Thank you.
Good. So I'll let you ladies take it over.
Awesome. Thanks for the intro. Hey, Shahar.
Hi, Katherine. I'm still obsessed with your wallpaper.
You like it?
I love it. I
Okay.
love it.
It took it took some time getting used to because it was a lot going on and I'm still kind of working on my wall art, but it's funny. It looks kind of like a virtual background and
Yeah,
I'm
it
like,
looks fake. So good, it looks fake. That's when you know that it's good.
yeah, it's definitely had a weekend of DIY. I had a blank background, so I wanted to, I don't know, just add something a little bit more fun. And it actually, it came from inspiration from the Beverly Hills Hotel. You know
Oh,
how they
yeah.
have all the banana leaf prints
Yeah,
everywhere. So that was my inspiration. I thought, hey, I'll create a little bit of that here.
I love it.
Yeah. And I don't know if you can see, but I'm like I tried to be very on brand
I
today.
see your bees.
Got a bumblebee blouse on. So I'm
Wow. Thank
fully
you.
immersing myself into the Bumble experience, if you will.
I'm very grateful. I need to buy that shirt. That's
Yes, I'll send you a link. I feel like if I meet you in person, I'm gonna have to wear this blouse
for
for
sure.
sure.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, hello to the audience out there. For those of you in the audience that don't know me, I'm Katherine Yeager, the Vice President of General Market Ad Sales here at LG Ads. A little bit about LG Ads for those of you who don't know who we are. LG Ads is the newest TV manufacturer to enter the connected TV ads business, and we provide exclusive access to LG inventory and targeting data across 100 million LG TVs globally. And joining me today is Shachar Scott, the VP of Global Marketing at Bumble. So Shachar, you're really well known to the brand innovators community, but for those that are new to you, tell us more about your role at Bumble.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Katherine. I'm thrilled to be here with you and excited to meet you in person, hopefully soon. Thank you all of you for dialing in today. I know we're all at Zoom fatigue. Levels are high, but the fact that you guys are here with us is really exciting. So I've been in the industry for 20 years. I've always been at the intersection of marketing and technology. Started my career early on in politics and the nonprofit sector, moved onto the agency side and really loved and fell in love with marketing and communications there. Spent about 6 years, both on the creative agency side as well as media agencies before going to Apple and launched Apple's first advertising platform back in 2011, right? Shortly after the App Store launching. And really kind of like grew up in what we used to call innovation. And before it was social media and before all these platforms were really how we communicated with all of our friends and family. From Apple, I went on to a bunch of startups before joining Snap. Was there for 4 years, leading marketing there. And then a year ago during the pandemic, joined Bumble. And at Bumble, I oversee brand marketing, community marketing, our partnerships team. We have an incredible ambassador program, and I work really closely in between product and our teams to really, how do we connect with our current and future users across all the different modalities of Bumble.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the different modalities. We'll get into that in a little bit. But before we dive in and to get you to know you even a little bit better, I'm going to ask you the ultimate icebreaker question. What was your first concert?
This is going to totally age me, which I'm okay with. But my first concert was the Cranberries.
Oh.
And I remember my dad taking me and my three best friends. And it was just the most incredible show. What was your first concert? Now I'm dying.
I'm gonna date myself as well. New Kids on the Block.
Oh, wow. Okay. You win.
Yeah. So yes, I was a crazy New Kids on the Block fan for sure. Growing up, I listened to them nonstop. But the Cranberries I also liked. So that's another good one.
I know. It was a classic. It was a classic.
Yeah, for sure. I love talking about music. Second thing I love talking about, last icebreaker question. What was your, or what is your current guilty binging pleasure on TV?
Money Heist on Netflix is so good. If you guys haven't seen it, it's a must. Watch it in Spanish with the English subtitles, unless you speak Spanish.
Okay.
It's the best show that I've seen in a long time.
I'm writing this down. I gotta start it.
So good. What about you? Because I'm out. Because I've binged all 5 seasons and now I'm screwed.
I'll definitely look into Money Heist. But I love the Netflix series All American.
Oh,
I think that's
I haven't even heard of it.
Yeah, it's a great one. You'll like it, especially living in LA. I think it's a great show. I'm also binge watching it. And then secretly, I'm also a fan of reality TV. So I love all things Bravo and Housewives, and yes,
I'm with you. I'm with you. But those I don't binge because I'm like all caught up.
Yeah.
So yeah. But All American, I'm going to download it for my flight home.
Yes, download it. It's a great series. Yes, I just finished binge watching Housewives of Beverly Hills too. So
it's a good one.
It's a guilty pleasure for sure. Awesome. Well, in the spirit of it being Ad Week and with so many people in the industry attending that this week, including yourself, I thought we could open up for some highlights. What have some of the highlights been thus far for you?
I mean, definitely seeing people in person, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this was one of the first industry events that has been in person since 2019, or the beginning of 2020, before we knew what was going to happen. So I think that by far was the highlight, is meeting people in person, presenting on stage in a real setting. I'd say is the number one highlight. I'd say one of the key takeaways that I'm really coming away from is a lot of the platforms are creating more solutions for brands like Bumble to really create on their platforms. And so I listened in on a few of the keynotes and really walked away thinking like there's a whole new platform studios and opportunities for my team to get educated on and really think about how do we deploy on these channels to connect with our Bumble users, future and present, by using some of the incredible tools that have been innovated over the last 20 months. So I think that for me has been really exciting, other than just seeing colleagues and peers in person.
Yeah, I'm so sorry that I couldn't be there in person this year, but I definitely yes, definitely. There's nothing like in-person interaction. And I definitely, I think we're all feeling a little bit of Zoom fatigue. So I can't wait for us to all, do these things in person more often. And Ad Week is definitely the event for advertising and innovation across the board for sure.
Yeah.
So you have such an inspiring background, and you touched on some of this in your intro, but you have such a great story to share about how you got to where you are today. Would love to kind of hear about that before we get down to marketing business in more detail. Talk to us about when you first aspired to your current career and who were some of your biggest role models growing up?
Love the question. So thank you. I am an immigrant. And so I moved to the US when I was 5. And I genuinely think that has shaped my entire career. I have always, done more than I should, like overachiever, tried to do all the after school activities. And in college, I had 3 jobs and interned. And for me, it was just, how do I maximize all the opportunities in front of me? And I think that is very much ingrained in who I am as an immigrant, and someone that loves to work and is very ambitious and always is moving the goalpost down the field to get further in my own career. And also just, as I saw my parents come to this country without any English language and thrive 35 years later, still thriving. And I think that has genuinely fueled me and has brought me to where I am today. Role models, I mean, definitely growing up, it was my parents, because they did everything for me and my siblings to really pave the way for us to have the opportunities that we had, and sacrificed a ton to bring us here from Israel. And I would say that throughout my career, I've had a ton of mentors and incredible managers that are still to this day people that I look up to, people that I admire. And I just feel so fortunate to be here and where I am. And I wouldn't be here without them and their support.
Awesome. Yeah. Israel is definitely on my list to visit, and that's so inspiring.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you also, I read somewhere or heard one of your other interviews where you said your mother was a carpenter.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So, I mean, early in my childhood, I mean, there was no such thing as like gender norms, because they were broken. Both my parents worked. My mom was a carpenter and taught wood shop at a high school for 30 years. My dad was the one that made my lunch, so it was just like, and he was also a superintendent, ran dozens of schools up in Massachusetts. So they both just taught me an incredible work ethic and mentality, but also there was no gender role that we had to fit in. And I am so lucky. My husband is an entrepreneur, but since we moved to LA, he's a stay-at-home dad and supports me in my career. So it's just, there is no, norm. I think everyone has to make what works for them.
totally.
I learned early on that you get what you make, right? And really like paving my way there.
Yeah, no, definitely. I grew up in a similar household where there were no gender norms. My father made my lunch, and my mom was a career woman. She, I think, embodied, notions of women empowerment. And she was a working mom during a time where the professional world was not friendly to working moms. And so I saw her overcome many, many obstacles that really inspired me. So I think, having role models in our life is very important. And I think that the positive role models influence our actions and definitely motivate us and uncover our true potential and help us overcome our weaknesses, for sure.
Yeah. And they shape who you are, which is awesome.
Definitely. So I know earlier on in your career, you were working in politics. Talk to us about the transition to marketing and how politics has maybe influenced your career.
Yeah. So I went to college thinking I was going to go to law school right after got into law school. And in parallel, also had the opportunity to go work for John Kerry, who was fourth-time senator in the state of Massachusetts, planning his presidential run. And it was an opportunity that I thought, was worth deferring for a year. And in that first job that I had, it was my responsibility to not only connect with voters on issues that mattered to John Kerry and the Democratic Party in the state of Massachusetts, but it was really to like position and frame him as the candidate of their choice that was going to represent them and their issues, and specifically focusing in on women's rights and women's health issues. And if you rewind the time back to 2000, this was back, before emergency contraception. And so I was working with Planned Parenthood to legalize emergency contraception as one of the main issues on his platform. And in that process, in that year, I really fell in love with marketing without even knowing it. Just taking a very honest insight and positioning it and crafting a message and a narrative around it and sharing it with people that cared, people that didn't even know that they needed to care, and persuading them to make a decision, to make an action based on that information. That's marketing. And I never went to law school. And I ended up, after that year, going to work for Planned Parenthood.
Wow.
As a grassroots marketer. And that was it for me. I mean, I knew I didn't want to be in a courtroom. I really wanted to continue down this path, and have loved strategic communications and and marketing since.
Yeah, definitely. Well, many women, thank you for all of your efforts there. That's really, really inspiring and, definitely very rewarding for sure.
Yeah.
So you have such a diverse history of companies and organizations that you've worked with or even helped create, from your marketing work to a taco truck company to organizations like say.org, which we'd love to hear more about. Is there a single North Star or common denominator that has guided or driven you throughout your career?
Wow, you have such good questions. Single North Star, I actually think that my North Star has evolved, throughout my career. And as my ambitions evolve and change, that North Star moves it a little bit to the left or right. But I would say that technology has been the North Star, and technology as a force for good and how that can improve your life. And so I've worked at some of the best tech companies in the world to really bring that innovation or that service or that platform to the right person. And whether that's communicating or hardware, or experience augmented reality, or with Bumble, connecting people in a healthy and equitable way, that's technology as a force for good. And so I say that if there was one North Star, that would be it. But it continues to evolve because technology continues to innovate, which is just, that is what excites me about marketing, is there is no playbook. You have to constantly reinvent and test and learn, because everything is changing on a daily basis. Literally.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. No, I love that technology and using it for a force for good. Anytime brands can do good, I think that definitely that's always a really great thing. Say.org appears to be an important focus of your passion. Can you tell us more about that organization's missions and how your involvement came about?
Yeah, and you really did your research, which I'm really grateful for.
Oh.
So yes, I am the chairwoman of the board of directors at say.org, which is an organization that helps kids who stutter. So SAY stands for the Stuttering Association for the Young. I grew up stuttering. My mom stuttered, my brother stuttered, and I grew up thinking, again, that was normal. I went through 12 years of speech therapy, went through years of presentation training when I worked at Apple and since then. And I have been able to have a successful career talking. I literally talk for a living, something that I never thought I would do as a kid. And so for me, it is probably the most rewarding work that I do. And it's been an amazing organization that I joined as a volunteer. They used to be called Our Time, which really spoke to giving kids the time to speak and get their words out. It has a very much a performing arts component to it, because when you get on stage and perform, your stutter goes away, which is really interesting. And so when I joined the board, and Taro Alexander is the founder, Noah Kornman, I said I would be happy to join the board as long as you let me rebrand the organization, because Our Time is also a dating app for senior citizens. And so they were getting calls from parents. My kid is getting bullied by their teacher because of their stutter, and my credit card's not working for my date. So we rebranded them. Say.org was available, which is insane. And it's a 20-year-old organization here in the tri-state area, but actually it's now gone global. There's programs all across the USA and also in Australia.
Wow, that's amazing. That's really great to see how you overcame that. I myself can relate to something similar. I've had my fair share of challenges, including stage fright, believe it or not. But definitely, I found that teaching myself like new skills that are really pertinent to my career help me kind of overcome those obstacles, and just finding people that could mentor me and talk me through it was definitely really helpful for sure. So I can definitely empathize. So talk to us about the taco truck. How did that come about?
Yeah, my husband launched that. And at the time, this is back in 2008, there were no food trucks on the East Coast. Very, very popular in California. But really there were no taco trucks. There was no authentic Mexican street food here in New York or in New Jersey. And right as the recession was starting, the economy crashed, we launched the taco truck, which was a physical truck. And then shortly thereafter, we launched brick and mortar restaurants in Boston, on the High Line, in Hoboken and Princeton, Morristown, and all the way down in Philly. And it was an incredible opportunity for people to get authentic Mexican street food. You felt like you were ordering off of a truck. And yeah, it was incredible. And when we moved to LA, we closed those down, but it was a 10-year business that he ran, and I helped with all the marketing.
That's awesome. I feel like everyone needs a good side hustle sometimes, right?
I used to say I moonlight tacos, because who doesn't love a good taco? And
and who doesn't love food and all things food, right? It's like really fun. It's a great creative outlet, if you will.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, talk to us about Bumble. You guys have seen explosive growth and IPO. How is Bumble not just a dating app, and how are you guys different?
Yeah, so Bumble was launched during the time when I do think that dating online was still a little bit taboo. And in order to differentiate from the other dating apps, it took the kind of archaic gender norms that were rooted in kind of very misogynistic outlooks that like women would have to wait for the man in a heterosexual relationship to make the move and really in a very chivalrous way, court her. And we completely changed that. And so on Bumble, women make the first move. They have to initiate the actual outreach to a potential match. And what we found is that not only puts control back in women's hands and for themselves and what they're looking for and who they want to spend time with, but by taking away the potential for rejection for men, a lot of what we find today with like ghosting or inappropriate behavior on dating apps like goes away. And on Bumble, we don't allow body shaming. We don't allow ghosting. We have a very strict policy around moderation and putting appropriate pictures of yourself. We've changed the way that the profile appears, where the first thing that you see is someone's photo, but it's not the entire screen. It's a part of the screen, so that the about me, the really like the substance of who you are, is also the first thing that someone sees. So they really get to know the person and not just make a very surface level decision on what someone's appearances look like. And so Bumble is created to really allow women and men to create healthy and equitable relationships in all facets of their life. So while it started off as a dating app, we also have BFF, which is our friend finding modality. And then we also have Biz, which allows people to connect on a professional level as well.
That's awesome. I love the rules around no ghosting and no body shaming. That's awesome. Candidly, before doing my research on Bumble, I thought it was just a dating app, but I love it that, that Bumble is where women can make the first move, which has to be one of the best innovations of Bumble for sure. I had no idea about Bumble Biz, where you can pursue a career change, or Bumble BFF that allows you to meet new friends and expand your social circle. I'm like, wow, maybe Bumble's for me. I can meet new friends in a new city.
Exactly. And we do see that, like people, when they move to a new city, they want to connect with new friends, because also, especially during the pandemic, I'm sure this happened to you too, but all of my
Yeah.
friendships were maintained on this device, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
and through this screen, because we were so isolated. And so
Yep.
really Bumble was a lifeline for many people as they sought to really connect with others when we were all physically distant.
Yeah, no, definitely. And how, I know that Bumble pays a lot of attention to diversity, equity, and inclusion, both internally and externally. Can you share a little bit about how how this has impacted your culture and your client base?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I mean, it certainly from a recruiting standpoint is critical to find people that are like-minded and share our values. Making the first move isn't just our product USP, it is what we expect out of people. It's what we expect out of my team. So I expect my team to come to us with new ideas and things that have never been done before, and really like innovate through that lens. But from a DEI perspective, I mean, we certainly have a lot of ERGs internally to support our workforce, and especially during the remote working conditions to further support our teams. But it really is, for me, it's how we recruit, it's how we retain talent, and it's also how we innovate and continue to build amazing marketing campaigns in the world that are reflective of people that are not only on the app, but people that we aspire to get on the app. So it comes across in kind of everything that we do. It's not an add-on. It is like a table stake, and it's not a check mark. It's just part of how we approach every solution and every opportunity.
Yeah, that's awesome. I was at a conference a few weeks ago, and DE&I was such a big focus for brands. And one of my key takeaways was that we all need to keep doing the work here in perpetuity. So it sounds like that's woven into the fabric of Bumble, right? This is not just to check the box. This is, we need to keep doing this constantly. And I think that, authenticity, credibility, consistency, and creative innovation are how we join conversations surrounding diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so it's great to see brands such as Bumble making such a great commitment here.
Thank you.
So in addition to DE&I, COVID has been at the forefront of our minds, right?
Yeah.
Marketers have had to adapt. One could say, right, the goal of a dating app is to bring together people in real life, which might be potentially hard during a pandemic, right? So how has Bumble been adapting to changes with the pandemic, making it so hard for people to get together in real life? I think you kind of alluded to it with like the video chat features, but what are some of the things that you guys have been, adapting?
Yeah, what we saw, obviously, depending on where we were in the pandemic, because there were different times where people were out and about and then had to retreat, and depending on comfort level, that significantly impacted your desire to meet in real life or not. And what we saw throughout this time is the slow dating movement. And so what used to happen in 2019 is you would make a match and you would make a plan to meet up. That was no longer an option. And so what we saw is a need to evolve the way that we allow people to communicate and build relationships slowly through the app. So whether that was video chats or video notes, or we launched Night In, which was a trivia question game that you could play to really break the ice, but also find out more about someone before deciding whether or not you were comfortable or whether or not you were vaccinated and wanted to meet in person. So that slow dating movement, I don't think is actually going away, just because most of us are now vaccinated and comfortable being out. I know in New York, everyone, it feels like, is out and about, which is awesome. But, I think depending on where your comfort level was, we tried to create a lot of different avenues and features within the app to allow people to still have and find that meaningful connection with a potential match by taking it slowly. And we also introduced things like our vaccination badge and vaccination preferences, so that you were matched with people that shared the same comfort level of, I am vaccinated and I want to meet out, or I'm not vaccinated and I don't want to meet out, so that you could be matched with people that had similar and shared values, so that there wasn't like a disconnect once that conversation had started in chat. So all those things still exist in the app today, and I don't see them going away. In fact, we're going to continue to innovate kind of in that space and allow people, depending on what their intention is, to really find their potential match, and whether it is a friend, a professional connection, or a romantic interest, really find someone or people to date in a really healthy and equitable way.
Bringing together like-minded people.
Yeah.
So the Bumble Cafe, very innovative development. You especially coming from, the food world too. How did that come about, and how is that working?
Yeah, so it actually launches today. We had our friends and family yesterday and soft launch, but I'd say, just going back in time, even Bumble has always brought people together based on these genuine connections that they've made, both on and off the app. And historically, back in 2017, we launched the Bumble Hive, which was a physical space where you can go and meet people. And it was a temporary pop-up space in Soho. And since then, we've taken that to LA and Austin, and even in London. And so we've kind of always used that physical space as a reason to really connect with our community. And we've had an amazing response from our community as a result of that. And so Bumble Brew is a permanent extension of that. And it isn't a pop-up. It is meant to stay. And it's on 98 Kenmare Street. So if you find yourself walking around Soho, it's right next to La Esquina, and it's awesome. It's in partnership with Pasquale Jones and Charlie Bird. So the food's awesome. There's
an Italian influence.
But it's really great, and it's just another amazing place for people to go meet.
I love that Bumble Brew provides, a robust dining experience for people who have been stuck at home too for too long and maybe need an escape. So definitely looking for more Bumble cafes around the country for sure. And I love the notion of not only bringing people together on the app, but also bringing them together off in person to kind of foster those healthy and equitable relationships. And, I love how your CEO, Whitney Wolf, has said that she's less concerned about stock and more concerned about the consumer. And I think when you center your efforts around making it a good experience for the consumer, you always win in marketing and advertising.
Yep. Always.
And
they come back because of that.
Yep, totally. So how have all these, changes and innovations all impacted your marketing strategy, particularly your efforts around acquisition and loyalty?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that it definitely has impacted pretty dramatically. I think, every marketer had to have several contingency plans over the last few quarters, as, even as we thought that we were going to have this like major reentry moment, and then Delta variant happened, and so our strategies continue to be very fluid, and they will be. There's just there has to be agility in how you plan media and channels in order to swap creative in and out depending on what is happening in the world, in the market that you're trying to reach a consumer at any given moment. So I'd say flexibility and agility have just been the only way that we are able to develop strategic marketing plans. And specifically around acquisition and loyalty, I mean, the channels that we use have evolved for sure, but I would even say the frequency in which we're reaching people, because people are inundated with their screens, because they are constantly sitting in front of them. They're not always tuned in. And so you have to reach them in multiple ways and often. And so we have added definitely an experiential aspect to our work where it was safe in certain markets. So we did show up at Austin City Limits in Austin. And we did show up in Lollapalooza in Chicago earlier this summer. But we also showed up digitally and as you know, across connected TVs with OTT. And so, you know, we've just diversified our channels.
Yeah.
We have increased our frequency, and we've added a very flexible, adaptable approach to everything.
Yeah.
Because you never know when you're going to have to tweak something to not appear or be tone deaf, but really resonate with people in the right way, with the right mindset, without compromising your brand message.
Sure. No, definitely. That's all great. You know, Bumble has been involved in TV in the past with a Super Bowl ad in 2019. And more recently, you know, campaigns on OTT channels with so much focus on streaming TV today. How do you see that evolving going forward? Do you foresee doing more in the connected TV and advanced TV space?
I mean, I think we always will, because we know that even if you're second screening on this device, like you're still going to be in front of a bigger screen. And I think what that allows us to do is have different messages and longer form content on connected TVs than we would in a mobile experience. So, you know, I do think that depending on where someone is in the mindset or the consideration for dating or finding new friends, there can be different messages that you deliver, and some are only meant to be 2 to 6 seconds and some can still be 30s. So I think that will just always be part of our strategy depending on what our objectives are. But I think, I don't think, just like slow dating isn't going away, binge watching is also not going away.
Definitely not.
Yeah. So I just think it allows us to have a longer form message on those connected channels.
Yeah, no, definitely. And as more and more people switch from traditional TV, right? Advanced TV can help reach, you know, a larger number of people than before. And I think with the positive results that marketers are seeing with their advanced TV strategy, it really comes as no surprise that more marketers are definitely likely to include advanced TV in their advertising schedule.